One on One, proudly brought to you by Africom. Everyone, everywhere, networked.
Welcome back to One on One. We're playing ball with some of the country's greatest soccer stars ever. And tonight, leading us into an amazing series on soccer, Reinhard Fabisch, probably the greatest winning coach ever. Welcome to One on One.
Thank you, Gary. Welcome.
Born in 1950 Dortmund, you went on to teach there after going through Münster University, where you got an education in PE and psychology, English, etc. And you basically were a PE teacher at school.
Yes, that's right. I was teaching for about 10 years at a secondary school, teaching children from 10 to 17 years. And that was my first professional experience with coaching as well, because we had little school teams there. And it was until 1986 when I got an offer to conduct a coaching clinic in Nairobi that I finished my school career.
There, a little bit of the maturity came out. In fact, the coaches played the Kenyan national team, which was televised, and something amazing happened.
Yeah, something in fact happened that our coaches that were fast beyond their peak as players between 30 and 40, we managed to beat the current Kenyan national team, the Harambee Stars, by 3-1 in front of a rather big audience of about 25,000 spectators and the TV. And it was after this match that the chairman of the Kenyan Football Federation, he came to my hotel and made me an offer to coach the national team and prepare them for the All-African Games 1987.
There you went on to get silver, and in your debut as a coach made a name for yourself in Africa. In fact, you said you're addicted to Africa, but none of this was planned.
No, it wasn't planned. I was this coaching clinic was supposed to last for about 4 weeks, and the plan was to return back to Germany and go to school again. And when this offer came, I had really liked Africa, that was my first stay ever in Africa, I decided to talk to my boss at school, and after some complicated negotiations, they released me and I returned to Kenya and prepared the team for the All-African Games, in which we eventually won the silver medal against Egypt.
Well, coaching is fraught with many pressures, just like the playing field itself. In fact, you've traveled the world in your profession. Oman was next.
Yeah, I went to Oman. I had a very good offer there to coach a club team in Muscat, the capital of Oman, and I took the team over from position number 8 in the log. They were very close to relegation, and we managed to win the championship plus the cup, the Sultan Qaboos Cup, in that year, which was an unbelievable success for that team. But then I also learned about the other side of the coin in coaching. We had a pre-season training camp in Kuwait, and with a very hard, demanding physical workout, and we had 3 friendly matches against the Kuwaiti national team.
Which were exceptional at that time.
Which were taking part in the '86 World Cup, and they were really good. And we lost all 3 matches by 3-2, which I thought in the preparation was an excellent result. And when we came back to Muscat, my chairman invited me for dinner, and during that dinner he informed me that I had been sacked because we had lost 3 matches against the Kuwaiti national team. And he already had hired a South American coach. So I was very surprised, if not to say shocked, but I found out later that this is one part of the reality in coaching, unfortunately, these days.
Well, you've dealt with many tragedies, you've dealt with great successes. It's quite strange, many viewers wouldn't know that you went from that deserted experience to Nepal.
Yes, I had an offer to coach the Nepal team in the World Cup qualification for the 1990 World Cup in Italy, and this was again sponsored by the German government. So it was a very, very beautiful experience for me, because Nepal is in the Himalaya area. It's not really a country that's suitable for football. They have only one stadium, one football field. And sometimes you'll find that before training you have military parades taking place there. So it's not really a country, but I made a lot of friends there. It's a beautiful country, the landscape is unbelievable. And I spent another year in Nepal.
Before you came to Zimbabwe, right after that was Malta, where you coached the under-18s. Would all of these life experiences have helped prepare you for what you were to face?
Well, it was nothing really to prepare me for the many things that have happened. in Zimbabwe during my 5 years here, because some unbelievable happy moments, but also some very dark moments that happened in Zimbabwe, which I look back now with a lot of happiness. But at the same time, those previous experiences in Kenya, Oman and Nepal were just a little stepstone to what happened here later.
Well, you joined Zimbabwe with the under-23s in preparation for Cairo. We're preparing for a commercial break. We'll see you with Reinhard Fabisch after this.
One on One, proudly brought to you by Africom. Everyone, everywhere, networked.
In 1991, Reinhard Fabisch joins the Zimbabwe camp with the under-23s. An exceptional team, high goal expectations, and you took us to the All-Africa Games with a bronze.
Yeah, we played a couple of matches in Egypt, in Cairo and Ismailia and Alexandria. And the highlight for us during the tournament is that we eliminated the hosts, Egypt, which was a big setback because all the financial expectations of such a tournament heavily depend on the performance of a football team. We reached the semis. We had a very unfortunate loss against Tunisia and then won the bronze medal in those games. And I met some of the players that later became senior national team players like Benjamin Konjera, Adam Lovo, Peter Lovo, Ejen Sau and others. That was my first experience here in Zimbabwe. And as a part of that successful performance of the team, Zimbabwe applied to the German Football Federation to have me come back here a year later, which took place in 1992. I returned for a 4-year contract.
92 through 96, as you've alluded to, some of the happiest and some sad moments in your life. But the dream team of 92-93 is probably what most Zimbabweans now look back to. You know, Cameroon is striking gold in the World Cup and in Olympics and other things. We're striking out, it would seem, as a nation in soccer. Let's go back to some of the great moments in your coaching career and what got us there.
Well, we had a very, very good start. We had the first match against South Africa in August 92. South Africa returning to international football after their apartheid ban, and everybody regarded them as the highest favorites. And we beat them here 4-1, which was definitely a very, very positive start for me. And during that first 3-4 matches that we all won against strong teams like Togo and Egypt, we built up a sort of self-confidence in the team that really we didn't have the feeling that we could ever lose a match. You know, we went to Angola, we went to Egypt, we eliminated Egypt from the World Cup qualification. We lost in Egypt 2-1, but the game was replayed in Europe in Lyon. First time that an African match was played on European soil, because there were some bad incidents in Cairo, stone throwing, players injured, and so on. After we had eliminated Egypt, we played Cameroon in the World Cup qualification decider. We beat them 1-0 here. And then one of my really darkest moments in my coaching career here in Zimbabwe was the 3-1 defeat in Yaoundé in Cameroon. Under scandalous conditions, bad refereeing, also bad preparation from our administration as far as the flight arrangements and so on is concerned.
You had 8 hours at the airport with flight delays, but you also had incredible pressure on you and the team because there were great potential opportunities before us.
Yeah. Well, if we had qualified for the World Cup, we would have landed a great contract with an American company that was willing to sponsor us. And of course, that kind of pressure didn't only
Can you feel that change in the camp? Does the whole mentality of the team change?
Well, you change, obviously. You change from local football to the world stage. I mean, you play for $5,000 and all of a sudden you play for $50,000 per person. And that, of course, made the pressure in the camp rise from a certain level of confidence to a level where the players were not so sure of themselves anymore. And that probably, together with a bad preparation, was part of the losing factor in Cameroon.
You threw some money into the game in protest against one of the referees. That gave you a year ban.
Yeah, well, that was part of the pressure. I had the feeling that we were from the beginning under the influence of a biased referee, and I made that clear to him in a very unsportsmanlike gesture. I threw some money at the linesman, something that I have regretted soon after that. Not only because of my ban, but because a coach just shouldn't do it. I mean, the linesmen and the referees, they are under similar kind of pressure, because they have to take decisions in a fraction of a second, and that is a thing that probably I wouldn't do again, hopefully. But that was the kind of pressure that the whole team was under, and unfortunately for us, Cameroon qualified for the World Cup and not Zimbabwe.
Let's stop there a second. Most of us will be very aware of the prowess of the Nigerian, Cameroon teams, Morocco to a degree. What do we need to do right now if we snapshot to the best of the dream team to right now? What is the gap? What is the difference? And if we were to look at the African stage, how far have we got to go? Tactically, possibly administratively, but let's start with tactics. Where would you start?
Well, I wouldn't so much start with tactics, because tactics nowadays is like an open book. We're in the computer age, we're in the age of information. There are no secrets behind teams' performance and tactics strategies anymore. I think the big difference lies, number one, number two, number three, in administration, which is one of the biggest winning factors in international football. If a coach has a strong, motivated administration behind him, nothing can go wrong really, because the players would be in a very conducive environment. They wouldn't have to worry about flight connections. They wouldn't have to worry about bonuses being paid late or not at all, and things like that. And of course, the second factor that I think you had in mind, Gary, is that the big teams like Cameroon, like Nigeria, they have all their big players there, influential players, playing outside in Europe, professional football there. That in itself means that each player is training on a daily basis in an environment that makes it easy for the players to develop. I mean, we have so many players there. We have the Kanus, we have the Okochas. They are all here. We have to find them and then put them into an environment where they can develop. You know, it's like the Kenyans, the runners. I have been in Kenya twice. There are natural runners there. They go to school, they walk to school 35 kilometers one way and have to walk back in the evening, and rather than walking, they run. You know, they are natural. And give them a scholarship, they will become world record holders.
So there is an absolute focus that we must export our best, and our best must get the best of the world.
Yes. That, and then when they come back, we must treat them with respect. We must give them an administrative background that the players are willing to come back and perform under their beloved, let me put it like that, African circumstances.
Now, Reinhard, obviously there is some conflict, possibly positive conflict, with club football and a national agenda where you want your best to get international exposure, and that may help the lower line leagues. We'd like to return with Reinhard Fabisch after this, but if you'd like to give us your views and opinions, we'd like to hear from you. Call in now or write to the number you're about to see on the issue of national players going outside to further their careers and come back with that talent. We'll be back in a moment. Reinhard Fabisch.
One-on-one, proudly brought to you by Africom. Everyone, everywhere, networked.
Welcome back to One-on-One with Reinhard Fabisch. Exporting players to the world and getting the best of their experience back home. Probably none better than Bruce Grobler. What has he done for Zimbabwean football? And in your own opinion, where does Bruce feature in terms of goalkeepers?
Well, no doubt, Bruce, during the highlight of his career in Liverpool, he was one of the five outstanding goalkeepers of the whole world during his career. And of course, that fact, his popularity and his willingness to come back and sacrifice part of his Liverpool career for the Zimbabwe national team, I think has set a stone rolling of players who all of a sudden have realized that football can actually mean a career. I always had the feeling, and to a certain extent still have, that the career from going to school to university sometimes seems to be a factor against the development of a football player. That means parents see football as a hindering factor in the development of a young educational career of a guy. And I think Bruce has shown, together with Peter Ndlovu and maybe some others like Norman Mapesa and Benjamin Conjera, that football can actually open doors, you know, not only financially, but also as far as your attitude towards life and other issues is concerned. I think that he was the one, and I'm still very thankful to him, he's a good friend of mine, that he showed not only his teammates, but also a larger part of the black and white population in Zimbabwe, what a career in football can mean.
If Bruce hadn't had that opportunity, if Peter and Adam Ndlovu did not have the opportunities of today based on their skills and talents, would there be any way that they could have had any form of career in Africa?
Well, unfortunately, probably not, because if you have a look at players, great players like George Shire and Jimmy Finch and Sunday Marimo, okay, they are all still well respected, but they have never made it in the sense that they are now financially secure, you know, that they don't have to worry about their future anymore. They still are struggling on a daily basis together with the rest of the population when things are not so well in the country. And I think that the international career, getting the chance to play and perform and make money outside, has opened doors for young Zimbabwean players who see it as a chance to get outside, to leave their natural boundaries behind them, together with the help of some coaches who bring them abroad, maybe together with the help of some good managers who promote their careers outside. And I think that has opened the eyes of many Zimbabweans that this is possible these days.
Well, it's a global playing field, but let's now return back to football, coaching and administration. In many ways, it seems it's like running a business. The fears of financial security, the fears of performance. In your own life, you've been fired many times. What are the mindsets of a coach? What would you say are probably your most successful attributes in dealing with this environment and managing this type of business?
Well, I think, I have to come back to the connection of coaches and the administration. Even the best coach in the world doesn't have a realistic chance to perform and succeed in modern football without a strong, conducive administration behind him. And I have seen the good parts of it, and I've also seen the bad parts of it. And I have seen many frustrations, not only from my point of view alone, but also other European coaches who were very good, successful coaches in Germany, in Europe, and who had their failures because of bad administrative support they had. And I think if that kind of thing is not going to change to the better in future, it would be very difficult for a Zimbabwean team ever to succeed on an international level, you know, because the administrators have the power to make a coach a successful coach, but also they have the power to make him fail.
Well, Reinhard, what is amazing, and certainly for the soccer fans listening, is that you're not talking about strategic games, you're not even talking about the quality of players, you're talking about the enabling environment in which they play. You said something very interesting earlier about, in Germany, the German Federation of Football, how over 100 years they've only had 6 coaches, but in Africa we seem to have 100 coaches over 6 years.
Yeah.
That consistency, is that one of the things we need to change? Do we need a more long-term view?
Thanks for using my example, Gary. I think that's the point. That's the point, that the point of continuity. Let's say the German Football Federation, with 3 times world champion and sometimes runner-up and so many European Cups won. We have used 6 coaches in 100 years. And Franz Beckenbauer, who is probably the most popular German football player and football coach, nobody knows it. He is the national coach with the most games lost. He has lost.
But he's still coaching.
He has lost more than, I think, 12 matches in his 6 years of coaching. But there was never a word of him being sacked because the federation was convinced about his abilities. And I think that is the key word. The trust of the federation, of the setup behind the coach must be there. And this trust cannot be changed or destroyed by 1 or 2 victories. If the direction is the correct one, then there should be going with that coach all the other way, unless the coach starts stealing cutlery from the chairman's house or something like that. That would be a reason for me to have him sacked. But if somebody is convinced of the ability of a coach, let him go all the way, and just terminate his contract when you think or see that things are going terribly wrong. But if the direction is correct, the players are going the same stride with him, let him work until he has achieved or not achieved the final aim that they were signing a contract for.
Direction, trust, an enabling environment, a sense of consistency. Let's now just focus for a moment on the quality of Zimbabwe's players, the raw talent. You've talked about some great names. Norman Mapedza, a young man you put in a side which to Zambia that some folk would say you're crazy to have done at that particular time. Do you believe in your heart of hearts, Reinhard, that we have the potential here to be a Lion of Africa?
Absolutely. I mean, I have seen it here. I've worked in the rural areas. I've worked in towns here for 4 or 5 years at grassroots level. And I know exactly, like I know that at the end of the sermon in the church there's the amen. And I know it as certain that we have the talent there, we have the potential of players there, and being thrown into the cold water within a conducive administrative environment, there's not a shadow of a doubt that we could go as far as Cameroon, Nigeria, and other nations have shown it. Ghana, for example. Ghana was nowhere 20 years ago. We had a number of European coaches there. They picked up players, they put them into coaching experiences and playing experiences, and all of a sudden they are there. They were under 17 world champions 8 years ago, and backed up by a strong administration. So it comes back to that point all the time. The raw material, the talent is there, and I have seen players like Norman Mapesa, Peter Ndlovu, and others that could play in any European top team. And why shouldn't be there 20, 30, 40 other hidden talents? But somebody has to go there, somebody has to groom them, somebody has to spend money and patience with them, and the end result will always be another Kanu, another Okocha, another, Pelé, maybe, why not? But it has to be with patience, and it cannot be that after 1 or 2 matches, coaches change, players change, administrators change. There is no continuity. The players also must refer to a certain guy who is responsible for them. I mean, we had players here, I know that the next morning they woke up and didn't know who was coaching them, you know. And if that takes place on a regular basis, then it's not conducive for the game.
Well, it takes a whole approach to make the whole game work. Find out Reinhard's plans and dreams for the Zimbabwe team after this.
One-on-one, proudly brought to you by Africom. Everyone, everywhere, networked.
Reinhard, now turning to a different type of winning. You've had winning pitches, winning matches, but somebody won your heart. Chiwadza Kachidza. What happened around this track?
Well, that was one of the reasons why I like this country so much. I met my fiancée Chawala here in the stadium while being in a camp about 4 years ago, and we have had contact since then, and she went to Sweden for a scholarship and I went to other coaching assignments. But about 2 years ago we got closer together, and I'm very happy that apart from the professional point of view, I also have an emotional reason to return back to Zimbabwe.
Hey, is this a thing that coaches do? I mean...
Yeah, it has happened before. And
you weren't mentioning any names.
Yes, no, I'm not mentioning names, but it shows that we also have hearts and not only tactical feelings, you know.
The hearts that you talk about are best described in the relationships with your teammates. There's an incredible connection, and also to the fans. In fact, you talked about a day the other day where a whole stadium filled up just with folk who knew that you were there. What is that connection? How do you get into the hearts of your players? Why do they get into your heart?
Well, I think the players have got the feeling when I was here that I was fighting for their rights, that I even fought out little battles for them with the administration when I thought that the players were not treated the right way. And I think they have realized that there is somebody who does not only care for them tactically or strategically, but also that he has some fatherly, let me put it that way, feelings for them. And I think that's what the players accepted more in me than maybe tactical aspects of the game. And I think that also that this point jumped over to the fans, that they realized that I'm not only coming here to do a job and make some bucks, but that I'm actually
your heart's in it.
Fighting there. You know, when we played Egypt in the World Cup qualification in 1992, I was stoned in Cairo. I had a bad head injury, and the game was replayed because of that in Lyon. And I think that the fans realized that there is somebody who really means what he says and just doesn't give talks to the public in order to make an impression. But I really feel for my players, and I hope that this style of mine will continue until the rest of my career.
The style of yours, just very quickly now, Reinhard, is there a contradiction here? When we see you on the sidelines shouting out, we don't know what, to the players, there's almost a different man that comes out.
Well, I'm sure that some of us here have been slapped by our father or by our mother when we were young and misbehaving, and still they pretend to love us, or they do love us. And it's much the same with the coach. who from time to time has to shout and has to be very aggressive on top of a player to get the team discipline back. And I think that's what took place, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. We just wanted to take you to the sidelines again, relive some memories. Taking us to memories in memory of the late Benjamin Kunjera, his little daughter Nicole. You're actually supporting the family and supporting another place. What's that?
Well, Benjamin, he was one of my greatest players. In fact, my favorite player for some time. Unfortunately, passed away at a very young age of 24 years, and also his little daughter Nicole passed away. But through his death, I got hold of an institution here in Mutoko that looks after the orphans of parents that have died of AIDS. And I have been supporting that village, Mothers of Peace in Mutoko. And I also convinced Franz Beckenbauer and the General Secretary of the German Football Federation to donate some money to them. We gave them $250,000 Zim dollars, so that in their village they could build some laundry or playground for the young kids. They have more than 100 children there, and I'm very happy that apart from the football, I can also get actively involved in some social aspect in some of the problems in Zimbabwe that are realistically there.
Well, Reinhard Fabisch, you've been involved in the life of football, you're involved in the lives of many. And in fact, viewers, we've got a very special Mother of Peace special coming up in the future. We were down there with Dr. Christian Barnard, the world's first open heart surgeon to successfully complete that type of surgery, and we got him when he visited that particular mission. So it's actually a wonderful link in stories.
Yeah, I must also say that Christian Barnard, I always admired him. He's a famous figure in Germany because he was the first heart transplant, and I have always admired him. And of course it's a great idea to be sitting sort of in the same boat with him as far as Mothers of Peace is concerned.
Well, we look forward to a more peaceful tenure in your future. We would, I know, like millions out there, welcome you back, particularly on a longer tenure, and hopefully rebuild a team to the strength of the 92-93 era, the dream team. We're behind our coaches, we're behind our team. This has been a one-on-one special on soccer. We're going deep, we're carrying on with the game. It's going into the midfield, and we hope to score some special goals. So write in, give us your responses. Thanks for watching tonight. Until next week, goodbye.
Bye.
One-on-one, proudly brought to you by AFRICOM. Everyone, everywhere, networked.